Hello, my name is Matt Sack with Feldman Imports Mercedes-Benz. Today we're going to be doing a competitive comparison against the 2020 GLS 450 4MATIC and the 2020 BMW X7 40i xDrive. So just a few basic facts between the two of them here. The GLS, engine and powertrain, we're going to have 362 horsepower with 369 foot-pounds of torque. That V6 is also going to have an EQ boost as well. So essentially what EQ boost is it's going to be electrified engines that actually work on a 48-volt electric system. And essentially what that gives us is really instant power. It's also going to add up to 21 horsepower as well as 148 foot-pounds of torque. When we talk the BMW X7, that vehicle is going to have 335 horsepower with 330 foot-pounds of torque, and they have nothing compared to the EQ boost as of right now. Coming to both vehicles here, when we take a look at them, the GLS 450 is going to be about 3 inches longer than the X7, as well as about an inch higher. So again, what that's going to do for us here is create a little bit more legroom, cargo room within our Mercedes here, as well as, of course, when we talk about the height, it's a little bit more headroom. So coming up to the front here, I always like to start with the headlight here. We're going to have our multi-beam LED headlights. So really what the multi-beam LED headlight is it's going to have 84 different LED light beams within the headlight. So really the advantage to that, of course, with having 84 separate beams is, one, we'll have our active curve illumination. So again, going around corners in the dark, especially with all the deer we have here in Minnesota. Really an advantage if we do any mountain driving, of course, would also be a very, be very beneficial to you. And of course, the biggest advantage is when we are going by other vehicles, it'll actually cut some beams out. So again, like some scenarios when we feel like we're getting blinded by these headlights, this will in fact cut out beams to prevent that from happening. Coming to the front of the vehicle, we're going to have our star centered in the grille here. It's going to be our 3-point star that's going to stand for land, air, and sea. Down below here, we're going to have our camera. We're also going to have 3 other cameras, one in the rear of the vehicle and 2 on the sides of the mirrors. And really what those really why we have the ones in the front and under the mirrors for is going to be for our parking assistance package, which is going to be a standard feature on the 2020 GLS. Why that's kind of a bigger deal, especially when we're talking the X7 where it's an optional package, is that when we're talking about the largest SUV that we sell, it just makes sense to have a 360 camera system and an active park assist for maybe those folks that just aren't as confident with parking a larger SUV. So again, going to be a standard feature on the GLS, whereas an option on the X7. Another thing to note when we talk safety features, our radar system is actually put behind our star here. It's actually something you actually can't see. And when we take a look at the X7 up here, we can see their radar system. It's just planted within the bottom of the grille here, and that's going to be their radar system. So they didn't take any steps as far as eliminating that or hiding that. Where Mercedes-Benz, they put it behind the emblem, and you would never know the difference. Coming along here, I always like to bring up, of course, back to the safety aspect again. Whether we're in the front or the back of the vehicle, we're always going to have 2 places on the vehicle where we can see the blinker. So essentially we're going to have the blinker on the wraparound headlights here. So we'll always have a point there where we'll see the blinker. We'll have it on the side of the mirror. And when we're talking the rear of the vehicle, we'll have that wraparound LED tail lights. So again, of course, in the rear of the vehicle, we'll always see it on the side there. And then of course the side blinker on the mirror itself. Also, of course, we're going to have our keyless go. So again, a standard feature for the GLS. As we come along the side of the door handle on either of the doors, we can lock the doors as long as our key fob is in fact on us. And then of course to unlock, just behind the door handle, and of course that'll unlock the vehicle for us. Coming along to the rear of the vehicle, we're going to take a look here at our badging. So of course everyone on the row will always know what you're driving. We're going to have the GLS 450 4MATIC representing our all-wheel drive system we have available here. We'll also have another 3-pointed star in the rear of the vehicle. And now a really nice feature that's going to be another standard feature, hands-free access. So as long as we have our key on us, of course, even with the trailer hitch. Now a lot of vehicles out there in the market, they're still getting to the point where they're starting to add this feature. But again, let's say our hands are full, got groceries, or we're carrying something heavy or large. we can just do a soccer kick within one of the sensors here, and we're gonna have our hands-free access. So very easy to work with here. And when we look at our tailgate here, of course, it's just gonna be one piece. So now I wanna bring you over to the X7 because when I'm talking about this tailgate, there is a very large difference between the two of them here. And BMW appears to have this double tailgate action going on. And it really doesn't make sense in my mind here. But when we take a look here, this vehicle either is one, not equipped with the hands-free access like our Mercedes, because I do in fact have the key on me. So again, it's either it's not equipped or it's not very user-friendly or easy to use. I tried to look at the spec sheet earlier and I didn't see the option. So in my mind, I imagine it's a feature you have to purchase where it's gonna be standard on the GLS. But taking a look here, one thing I like to note, and I'll actually circle back to the GLS here in just a short while, but when I talk about the backup camera is actually integrated within the Mercedes-Benz. So what that means is it actually will pop out when you put the vehicle into reverse. Once we're done being in reverse and we go back into park or drive or whatever it might be, the camera actually goes right back up into the vehicle. So again, why that's nice, why that's an advantage, unlike the BMW here, is that we'll always be guaranteed a crystal clear view as far as our backup camera goes. So now diving into the rear of the vehicle here, you're gonna notice here, of course we have this portion of the tailgate opening here, but then we've got this thing down here, which is almost like a little extra, bumper or a little tray here, or really a tailgate when you think about it. So when we bring this down here, you'll see here, and again, I really don't understand the advantage to this. When we look at the space here in the second row, we're gonna notice that there's not as much second row cargo room space with those third row seats down. And the biggest thing is when I look at this, really the only advantage that I have is that I can place something on here a little bit sooner. And who knows actually how much weight I can put on here. I know you can't push down on it like I can, but again, depending on what we're putting down on here, I don't know how much this system could actually handle. But the biggest disadvantage to having this little two-piece tailgate system really is when I'm trying to place things up here, this is just really in the way. And I mean, realistically, if I put this back up, again, I've got the bumper here, and again, it's not very convenient. Even if I wanted to eliminate the step of bringing that down, I have to go up and over, and this is all painted panels here. And you can actually kind of see on here that, this thing right here, it looks like it has been things hitting it from, getting lifted in there. So again, really a disadvantage when we're talking about the two of them. Why not just have the regular tailgate or not, of course, having to deal with this setup here where we're so limited. And then when we talk about the button layout, now I didn't go over the button layout as far as the seat go in the rear, but what seats am I working with here? Am I working with the second row seats? Am I working with the third row seats? I don't really know, of course it'd be a learning process, but again, as I'm pushing these in, so it looks like this side is in fact the second row here. So you will notice, unfortunately we don't have a captain's chair option here for the X7. So if you do in fact get the bench seats, you do have the option to put the seats all the way flat. But the nice thing for our GLS is that even in the captain's chairs model, we can actually put those seats down flat. Whereas the BMW X7, when you have captain's chairs, they will not go down flat. And I'm going to show you in the GLS how ours do go flat, and then I'll also show you what the X7 will do with the captain's chairs. So we're going to make our way back over to the GLS. So again, we don't have the double tailgate here. So again, very easy for us to be able to reach in, place things where we need them, of course. And then you're gonna notice our buttons. They don't put them on the same side here. We're gonna have our second row seat options here, and we're gonna have our third row seat options here. So again, very easy to work with. We know exactly what we're looking at because of course, Mercedes-Benz, they put a 3R, a 3L. So we know that's third row, left side or right side. Same thing with the second row over here. Row 2, R, and an L for right and left. So in fact, you can see here, of course, very easy to work with here. We didn't get quite the lag when we were using the one over there on the X7 there. So again, we'll bring that back down so we can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at. And you will see here, wider and longer as far as the second row cargo space goes. So really an advantage, as far as the space goes in the rear. And then of course with our captain chair model that we have available here, you can in fact see that the seat back will go flat. Whereas the X7, if we come back around here again, we'll take a look. This is what the X7 will in fact give you. So again, this is all the option we have with the X7. It will move it forward. So now again, when we talk about the captain's chairs, we actually have 8 inches of space in between those two captain's chairs, which is huge. It's going to be much more room than what they offer in the X7. But the biggest disadvantage to the X7, one, you can't put the seat back down. And when we think of a large SUV, of course we want to make sure that we can fit all of our passengers within the vehicle. But again, when we talk about a large SUV, we want to be able to store stuff in there too, or haul things, with our big SUV. And this right here puts a huge damper when we're talking about the X7 with not having the compatibility to be able to bring that seat flat down. The other big thing is that for the GLS, for Mercedes, it's actually a no-cost item. So if we wanted the bench seat or if we wanted the captain's chairs that's available in 6 seats, we actually don't have to pay anything for it. Whereas the X7, you have to pay $850 additional to get the captain's chairs. So again, Mercedes-Benz is not charging you extra to have that. All right, so we're gonna come around to this side here. I always like to touch base on the mirror itself here. We're gonna have our blind spot compatibility here. So again, blind spot will be a standard feature for the GLS. A couple other factors as far as safety go. We're gonna have what's called pre-safe sound. Pre-safe sound, everyone's like, what the heck is that? Well, it in fact is a safety feature. And pre-safe sound, if you've ever heard of particular accidents. Accidents are very loud depending on how much impact there actually is. And pre-safe sound, what it does is actually, in the event that it can sense a possible accident up ahead, it actually releases pink noise throughout the vehicle speaker system. And what that does is it essentially preps your ears before the impact to basically eliminate, hearing loss or, going completely deaf, depending on how serious the accident. We're also going to have another system in here called Pre-Safe Plus, also going to be a standard feature. When I talk about both of them, those are options that aren't even available when we talk about the X7. Coming along on the inside of the vehicle here, of course, we're going to see a couple differences here. So when we look at the seat settings, Mercedes-Benz, we plant them on the side of the door here. It's shaped like a seat. So much easier to use, especially when we talk about having all these different seat settings, being able to move the seat up, being able to move it down, forward and back. You've got your headrest, you've got your seat back, you've got your leg extension. So essentially when we look at this, Mercedes-Benz idea behind that is why not put something where our arm already naturally rests instead of putting it on the side of the seat. We get so many buttons, sometimes we get confused. We don't know what we're necessarily touching, and that distracts you as a driver. So again, it's less safe than what the Mercedes-Benz is going to have to offer. We'll also have our heated seats located on the side of the door, which really just makes sense altogether. You're going to see that it's both placed on the driver's side and the passenger side. When we go over to the BMW X7, I'm going to go over where theirs is placed and how it's not as beneficial, as it is in the Mercedes-Benz here. So when we dive into the Mercedes here, we're going to have our new screen layout. So we're going to have two 12.3-inch HD screens here. So really this is the future of Mercedes-Benz when we take a look here. Everything is going to be HD, it's going to be crystal clear, and we're moving into a digital world. Analog's starting to disappear, and again, we'll have everything up here digitally. We can even go as far as taking our map system from the opposite side of where we're used to seeing it, and we can actually plant it full screen right up front here. Why that's an advantage? We're always going to be able to keep our eye on the road, and we're going to have our navigation located right below our eyesight here. So again, not going over to this side, having it right up front in our line of view of the road. Mercedes-Benz finally taking our touchscreens now. So again, when we take a look here, we do have touchscreen compatibility. And for the longest time, we used control dials and touchpads, which you will notice in the X7, they're still on the dial area. They don't have a touchpad even yet, where we've had that for years now. But you will see, in fact, we do still have a new generation touchpad here, so it's going to be much more responsive than the previous generation. And the biggest reason why Mercedes-Benz is still adding that is because a lot of our customers throughout the years were just used to having a control center here. The safe idea of eliminating reaching for a screen altogether, as that's distracting, and having something at hand level and where our arm already naturally rests, and being able to go back and forth here. Another thing that I'm going to have us take a look at here I don't want to forget about is going to be our new steering wheel layout. So you're going to see up here we've got things like our cruise control now placed on the front face of the steering wheel here. We're going to have touch pads here as well. So again, our touch pads allow us to navigate around on each side of the screen, left side being for the left and of course the right side directing things on the right there. But as we take a look here, we can actually configure whatever it is that we in fact want to take a look at. So again, I had it on the navigation. Again, we can do a full display. We can do just a middle display there. And we can actually go as far as customizing each of the circles as well. On the right side, you will in fact see the navigation is also placed up there. If we wanted to see what we're listening to on our XM radio or FM radio, we can actually plant that right in the middle. And we can also just have our miles per hour on the left side there. So as far as customization goes, it really is above and beyond of what we can have displayed up front for us. Now the biggest thing is what we're going to have in here is our new technology called MBUX, Mercedes-Benz User Experience. We are essentially light years ahead when we talk about this user system within the vehicle. If you've ever heard of things like, hey Alexa, hey Siri, hey Google, do this. We actually have a system within this vehicle here that's called Hey Mercedes. So as you'll see here, we can do commands like, hey Mercedes, hey Mercedes, change the ambient color lighting to blue. And really you can do all sorts of commands. Change the temperature to 62 degrees. Call Matt at Feldman Imports. Take me to 4901 American Boulevard. And really the beauty of that system is that it actually works off of artificial intelligence. So what that means is the vehicle system actually learns you over time. So it'll start making suggestions. Hey Matt, are we going to the gym? Hey Matt, are you on your way to work? Can I turn this radio station on for you? So again, it's really awesome as far as, you know, the options that you have. It's like having a personal assistant within the vehicle. And again, it's going to be unlike any other system because it learns you over time. So now the other thing I want to talk about, I want to have us take a look at the center console here. And really why I bring this up is because when we go over to that BMW X7, that is a mess over there. And you're going to really see how nice and easy to the eyes this center console is here. So when we take a look here, of course, we're going to have our climate control here. Again, pretty easy to work with here. We're going to have both set temps here for driver and passenger. Our menu, of course, of where the air is going. And of course, it's the norm, max defrost, rear defrost, fan speed. But really coming over here, our dynamic is going to be our available drive mode. So we'll have things like sport mode, comfort mode, eco. And then of course we'll have our hard keys down here, our parking assistance package key here. So again, we can switch out what cameras we're in fact taking a look at, our vehicle settings, our favorites. We'll also have our navigation, radio, and telephone hard key. So really easy to work around, you know, as far as, you know, not being confusing. And when we go over to the X7, I'm going to show you, in fact, how confusing that vehicle actually is when we dive into that center console there. So I'm going to actually take us over to the X7 here. I want to go over some of the interior options and really disadvantages that the X7 is going to have. So when we talk about a user system, MBUX, Mercedes-Benz User Experience, like I mentioned earlier, BMW doesn't have anything like that right now. The other big thing is, of course, Apple Carplay and Android Auto, standard features on the GLS. And this fact right here absolutely blows my mind. So when we talk the X7, if you have an Android, you're out of luck. You don't have Android Auto. It's not available in the X7. Now you do have Apple CarPlay, but they only give you a year subscription free. After that, you're paying $80 annually, which in my mind is bizarre. I mean, you could go down to Honda and you could get a new CR-V and you would have Apple CarPlay throughout the lifetime of the vehicle, just as we do in the Benz. So for BMW to charge their customers an annual fee for such a, established feature out in the market right now is absolutely bizarre. The other big thing with it too is, when we talk about the wireless system that they have, everyone's raving about the wireless Apple CarPlay and how ours is still wired. Well, there's a reason for that, and that's because there's so many different connection issues. I've had so many, even down to my roommate who sells these, these BMWs, bringing them home and watching them disconnect and just getting irritated. If you have a wired connection, you're not running into any issues. And really the beauty of that is your phone is charged all the time. So again, Apple CarPlay available. Android Auto, not a thing in the X7. And again, you get 1 year before you have to pay $80 a month for it. So coming into the vehicle here now, we take a look at the exterior, we take a look at the interior here. So really, again, our seat settings, a much smarter idea for Mercedes-Benz to have it on the side of the door here. Again, we get into the position here where we're taking a look here, especially when we're in their driver's seat, and we don't necessarily know exactly what it is that we're touching all the time. Again, over time, you're gonna learn it, but again, just a much safer option to have them on the side of the door. One other advantage to the Mercedes, again, memory seating is going to be standard both for driver and passenger. I do know for BMW that it is not standard to have it on the passenger side. The other disadvantage too is that you're only going to have up to 2 options as far as saving your seats and mirrors go, where the Mercedes-Benz is going to have 3 of them. Now, the biggest thing that I can't stress enough here is really going to be taking a look at this center console here. So again, when we take a look here, we've got so many different things going down here. We have our start stop button here. So this is how we start and stop the vehicle. We've got our parking assistance up here. We've got media, home, map, navigation. We've got our control dial. So again, not even to a touchpad of any sort here. We come down here, we've got our back, of course, but we come over here, we have all of our available drive modes, which doesn't make any really sense on how you could just put that into one button to be able to move around all of those there. The other thing is now is when I mentioned as far as the heated seats go. Heated seats, a nice easy option on the side of the door for the Mercedes-Benz. When we take a look here, heated seats are still located up here. And again, you just kind of look at these buttons here. They just look a little chintzy, you know? I mean, again, I feel like they could have did a better job as far as refining those buttons to make them a little more attractive. And then, of course, I want to talk about the steering wheel over here. I'm going to go hop in on the other side here just so you guys can see the disadvantages to this steering wheel here. So really, when we take a look here, my biggest issue with this is, again, we look at the keys here. They're just not, I mean, we look at them, they look so generic. And the biggest thing here is we have this little scroll system here, which is very inefficient. You know, I've been playing around with this vehicle before. Touchpads are much more consistent, much more use out of them. You know, we take a look here, we've just got these roll dials. They've got the heated steering wheel located right in the middle. I mean, there's no really comfortable way to push that. And again, when we take a look here, everything is in fact digital. But again, when we look at the screens within the Mercedes-Benz, they both match up, they're both integrated there. And to me, I feel like this right here, this little misleading notch screen there, it's just not as pleasing to the eyes. Now, the biggest thing, when I got into this vehicle, the navigation system, guys. You saw the navigation in my setup where I can get it located up here, but I mean, this right here, this looks so outdated. You know, you take a look at that nav system, I don't even know what nav system that is, but again, you look at the clarity, the HD compared to our system in there, again, you're gonna notice, you know, a lack really of, you know, navigation and really pixels and visual all together. So really all together, we're gonna take another step back out here. When we compare the two of these vehicles, you know, GLS is truly the winner when it comes to, you know, space, technology, and really standard features. You know, down to the Apple Carplay and the Android Auto, standard in the GLS. Parking assistance package. On your largest SUV that you sell, why wouldn't you have a parking assistance package for your customers? And really all together, I mean, when we talk about space, the seat movement, and again, unfortunately, we didn't have a captain's chair option here for the X7. But again, when we talk about the seats being able to go down flat, where those seats, they just move forward. That's a huge disadvantage when we talk about that, you know. So all in all, we have more power, we have more standard features, and you're really getting more out of the vehicle altogether for what you spend. So all in all, this is really us wrapping it up. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for, you know, of course, listening to this comparison today.